chill out here where I'm at. All right, let's check this out. Arkansas sues YouTube, claiming site fuels mental health crisis. The suit is the latest effort by state and federal lawmakers to highlight the impact that social media sites have on younger users. Arkansas sued YouTube and parent company Alphabet on Monday, saying the video sharing platform is made deliberately addictive and fueling a mental health crisis among youth in the state. Attorney General Tim Griffin's office filed the lawsuit in state court, accusing them of violating the state's deceptive trade practices and public nuisance laws. The lawsuit claims the site is addictive and has resulted in the state spending millions on expanded mental health and other services for young people. Quote, YouTube amplifies harmful material, doses users with dopamine hits, and drives youth engagement and advertising revenue, the lawsuit said. As a result, youth mental health problems have advanced in lockstep with the growth of social media, and in particular YouTube. Alphabet's Google, which owns the video service and is also named as a defendant in the case, denied the lawsuit's claims. Quote, providing young people with a safer, healthier experience has always been core to our work. In collaboration with youth, mental health, and parenting experts, we built services and policies to provide young people with age-appropriate experiences and parents with robust controls, Google spokesperson Jose Castaneda said in a statement. The allegations in this complaint are simply not true. So this is definitely, this is very interesting because there's so much to it. On the one hand, it's kind of like drugs, drugs being available, whether it's weed, cocaine, heroin, whatever it is. Just because you have access to something doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to develop an issue with it. But the bigger point is that there should be guardrails. You know what I'm saying? So in the last 20 years, I'm 32 years old. And just in my lifetime, I remember 20 years ago, the apps weren't really a thing. Facebook and MySpace and stuff were out, but the internet worked completely differently. And in 20 years, there's no way anybody really knew how quickly not only it was going to blow up, but how infused we would become into having our phones. So with metadata and being able to look back, you can do research and be like, okay, this has impacted people's health. Maybe it's added to obesity in certain ways because kids aren't playing outside as much. You end up understanding things looking backwards, or people are spending too much time on social media, which makes them or influences them to compare themselves to other people. You're always in compare and contrast, which makes you less happy. All of those things. And this comment where they said there are guardrails is true. There's parental controls on all of these outlets. There are measures to take. So this is just always going to be like a back and forth battle between the state and corporations on creating some type of balance. So, at the end of the day, you got to raise your own children. You feel me? So there's only so much responsibility that can be put on a company like YouTube. If your child is always on YouTube, then you know what I'm saying? You got to step up. But then YouTube does have everybody has a point in this. But overall, stuff like this just creates parameters, age restrictions and shit. YouTube requires users under 17 to get their parents. See, again, like we just said, a lot of these things are in place. YouTube requires users under 17 to get their parents' permission before using the site, while accounts for users younger than 13 must be linked to a parental account. But it is possible to watch YouTube without an account. The kids can easily lie about their age. The lawsuit is the latest in an ongoing push by state and federal lawmakers to highlight the impact that social media sites have on younger users. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy in June called on Congress to require warning labels on social media platforms about their effects on young people's lives, similar to those now mandatory on cigarette boxes. Yeah, again, you know what I'm saying? It's mostly about having access to the information, understanding that being on X, Y, and Z platform, whether it's YouTube or whatever social media site, can have negative impacts on your mental and emotional health. It can stunt your social development, stuff like that. If you're providing people with this information, you're providing parental controls, then, then there's only so much blame you really can get at the end of the day. I used to do cocaine all the time, and I don't now. You know what I mean? Like I don't I haven't done cocaine in a long time, and the reason I don't is because I don't need to, and I understand that if I do coke all the time, it's not good for me. I won't sleep, I won't eat nothing. It make me lose my damn mind. So at the end of the day, like people have to manage themselves, and this isn't I mean, what all can you really ask these people to do? Arkansas last year filed similar lawsuits against TikTok and Facebook parent company Meta, claiming the social media companies were misleading consumers about the safety of children on their platforms and protections of users' private data. Those lawsuits are still pending in state court. Now, stuff like this is a completely different issue, like private data, people's data being all over the place. Now, that's something to where it's like, okay, well, my privacy is at risk. I don't necessarily want all these companies to have access to all my information so that they can sell me things. Yes, you absolutely, this has more meat on its bones in terms of what a company should do to protect its users. But, if you got a 6-year-old that's always got they facing a tablet, then take their tablet away from them. Like it's because YouTube, at the end of the day, I mean, I learned how to tie a tie on YouTube. People learn how to cook on YouTube. People learn how to do everything on YouTube. So, at the end of the day, it provides a lot of positive value to society. Arkansas also enacted a law requiring parental consent for minors to create new social media accounts, though that measure has been blocked by a federal judge. Along with TikTok, YouTube is one of the most popular sites for children and teens. Both sites have been questioned in the past for hosting and, in some cases, promoting videos that encourage gun violence, eating disorders, and self-harm. So yeah, I mean, the public is always going to be involved with stuff like this, but in response, parental controls, and then they demonetize things. So like if you're a creator on YouTube and you post certain types of content, you might be able to post it. Maybe they'll take it down because it violates their terms of agreements, because you can't just post whatever you want on YouTube. Like, especially if you have a decent amount of people watching you, like you'll get stuff taken down, you'll get strikes. YouTube's on top of stuff like this. And then even if they let you keep some of your stuff up, they'll demonetize it so you can't profit off of it. So in my opinion, I think YouTube does a pretty good job. Perhaps they could, there's always room to help users understand what they're doing more. But other than that, I don't think YouTube would be where it is if they didn't, think about these things at all, if they didn't consider any of these issues.